Okay, have a look at this particular spot of ocean within the North Sea. You may not yet understand its relation to Stonehenge, but you will do very shortly. Next up, have a look at this image of a rock. Possibly the single most debated rock on the planet at the moment, lies down at the very centre of Stonehenge, and it's a significant problem. 2 years ago it was established that this rock had originally come from northern Scotland, some 700 kilometres away to the north. Now that, for me, is staggering alone and raises a whole bunch of fascinating questions, but none of those answer the question as to why this rock is back in the newspapers in such a short period of time for all the wrong reasons.
There's no evidence to support the human transport idea at all.
Okay, so super quick context first. Stonehenge is quite mad. The huge megaliths we see come from the West Woods, where I'm walking now, some 20 miles or so north of Stonehenge. Then we thought we had the absolute maddest thing with the bluestones all the way from the Preseli Mountains in West Wales. And again, brilliant detective work tells us exactly where they were quarried from. And finally, the altar stone. So called because it's unique in its composition at Stonehenge. It sits recumbent in the centre of the monument like an altar. This blew my mind. 2024 we established this came from the Orcadian Basin, not Orkney but still northern Scotland, essentially somewhere in this area. Okay, so this is the West Woods and this is the exact valley that those large megaliths came from. Now when we had that news that the altar stone had come from not here 25 miles north of Stonehenge but 700 kilometres north of Stonehenge in that Orcadian Basin, well, that opened up a whole bunch of wonderful questions, really good questions. Now when this news story first broke a couple of years ago, well, I made a video about it and it was a really interesting thing to learn, but then came the comments section. Hundreds of comments all suggesting that this was a glacial erratic. It was obviously glacial, why would anyone move it? Now within archaeology and all things scientific, well, you rarely have this position where you will never change your mind no matter what. It's not best practice and things change, all good. But for me, I kind of felt like this would never have been glacial action. And why ever could a society not undertake this task if they desired? So imagine my surprise when a week ago, all of these headlines took to the news. But maybe now I was wrong. Maybe all these other archaeologists and scientists, their hunch was completely wrong too. We were about to eat our hats, our socks, our slippers and any other condiment you care to name. Now when this paper first came out a couple of years ago, well, a number of people made some hypotheses on where exactly within that Orcadian Basin this altar stone could have come from. Mike Pitt suggested Aberdeenshire. They have a number of stone circles that are recumbent like the altar stone and all have this summer solstice alignment like the altar stone. Now I'm very much in the camp that the late Neolithic people dragged this stone down from Scotland and did it via land, maybe not in one generation, maybe it stopped along the way, but the late Neolithic were building stone monuments like their lives depended on it. Maybe because they thought it did. Others thought boats via the sea. Fine. Now that option isn't for me, purely through fear of maybe dropping this stone in the water. But either way, we need to accept that the Neolithic people were very capable of moving large stones and they loved doing it. Then came the glacial movement option. Was this altar stone moved by glacial action, not by humans at all? Now, I'm not academic, so maybe we need to consider if this is possible. So let's assume that paper is correct and that glacial action did move the altar stone from its original position. Well, Mike Pitts has drawn up a sort of a basic diagram of where it would have ended up based on the direction of the movement of that glacial action. We know this because of seabed mapping, grooves on the bedrock and things like that. So this isn't guesswork, and yes, you probably noticed this isn't going in quite the direction we would expect it to. It's not going south, it's going southeast. That's okay, because it doesn't rule out that this was a glacial erratic just yet, because don't forget, this ice is taking up water and we have land here, we have Doggerland. So 25,000 to 17,000 BCE, we see the movement of ice, and yeah, let's run with this. It picks up a 6-ton slab from the Aberdeenshire area and takes it into Doggerland. Now we know the Mesolithic people of Britain had boats, and we know that this is long before farming would have taken place within the Isle of Britain, and of course this is long before any monument was ever built. This is very much the era of the hunter-gatherer. Okay, so let's work with this. Someone could have indeed paddled out in their boat, picked up this 6-ton slab of stone, put it back in their boat, sort of found their way back inland. It would have needed to have been done before 6000 BCE, and therefore this was definitely a Mesolithic person. Well, then we're going to need a group of Neolithic people to pick it up from what is now the Norfolk coast, drag it 200 miles across to where it lies now, Salisbury Plain, with Stonehenge. And of course, don't forget, that means that we would now remove the cultural significance of that stone from what we assumed was Aberdeenshire, and the stone circles that lie there now, those recumbent stone circles with the same summer solstice alignment. So we've removed that significance altogether because of this link with the Mesolithic people of Doggerland. Okay, so for me, that whole notion of glacial action there by what's been described in this paper seems incredibly less plausible than the options that we first started with, the Neolithic people dragging it from A to B over a period of time by land or by sea. So why are we seeing scores of newspapers seemingly suggesting that the next Stonehenge mystery has of course been solved? So there's a co-author of this paper, Remy Venice, that's how you pronounce his name. Now he specialises in the movement of ancient ice flow. Now, that sounds like a lot of fun. Now, despite the paper stating this, even under glacial assisted scenario, substantial anthropogenic transport would have remained necessary. Well, Remy Venice still seems to want to push the line. In fact, he states this: these findings could imply that the people of Doggerland attached cultural significance to the altar stone and so saved it from being submerged by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age. Okay, so this is an image from a study a few years back which depicts the land retraction of Doggerland over a period of time, and it's placed against the ice flow movement as predicted within this paper. Now, as Mike Pitts highlights, those hunter-gatherers would have to get to this exact spot by around 10,000 years ago, and only if the stone had reached that exact spot by the ice movement. So this is wild and hugely improbable in my opinion. Even the words of the people that wrote the paper make it sound like even they think it's highly improbable, and yet we're still seeing a bunch of headlines that seemingly are making something out of absolutely nothing. But there is one last thing to say on Stonehenge as a whole. The Stonehenge story remains completely absurd in my opinion, and whichever journey you decide to take for this altar stone heading from the Orcadian Basin in northern Scotland down to Stonehenge, well, any journey remains completely extraordinary. Somewhere between the mountains of Scotland and the stones of Salisbury Plain, a 6-ton slab began a journey that we still can't fully explain. And thousands of years on, it remains where the builders put it, half buried, half broken. And despite all of our science and theories and understanding of archaeology, well, we still to this day don't know exactly how it got there. We will do one day, I am positive of that. But for the time being, it remains a beautiful mystery and part of the rich tapestry of Stonehenge and its landscape. I've been Paul. Click subscribe and we'll see you this time next week.